Welcome to Inspiration MMA. Here, we're not just talking about fighting, but also about the steely mentality, courage, and fighting spirit of true fighters. Because in the world of MMA, every punch has a story, and every victory is born from relentless struggle. Let's get started. UFC 3-1 blank, 12/07/2024. Movsar Floyd versus Aljamain Sterling. Both fighters took turns trying to dominate each other. This intense fight continued for 3 rounds. Ultimately, Movsar emerged victorious that night. It was a wrestling and grappling MMA match at the highest level, a rare occurrence in the UFC. And as we watched it, we witnessed how entertaining and engaging MMA wrestling can be. Exciting fights like Floyd versus Sterling have great potential to happen again at UFC Fight Night. This Sunday, October 12th, former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira will face the 8th-ranked Polish lightweight Mateusz Gamrot. The UFC main event was supposed to feature Charles Oliveira facing Rafael Fiziev. However, the fight, which was announced for August 7, 2025, was cancelled after Fiziev withdrew due to injury. This was confirmed by Fiziev himself, who expressed gratitude that his injury was still relatively minor. With less than a month left, the UFC had to find a replacement for Fiziev quickly. Rumors began circulating wildly on social media, with Benoit Stan, Dennis, Arman Sarukian, Paddy Pimblett, and even Diego Lopez all being mentioned as potential replacements. Then, Mateusz Gamrot's name became the most frequently mentioned name. Oliveira even complained on several occasions that no one wanted to face him. Benoit Saint-Denis, who had previously boasted about facing Oliveira, ultimately withdrew. Days passed, and Mateusz Gamrot became the frontrunner to replace him. Ironically, however, rumors surfaced that Oliveira himself actually didn't want to face him, claiming he was preparing to fight a striker, not a wrestler like Gamrot. "I heard you're worried about my fighting style, even though you've been training for a long time in the training camp. On the contrary, I don't have a training camp, and I'm still ready to fight. Only 2 weeks left of preparation, and I'm already at here. No excuses. Let's fight." Although his opponent this time was a complete departure from Rafael Fiziev, a striking and kickboxer, it seemed Oliveira had no choice but to accept this fight, and that was as it should have been. As the UFC's record holder for most submissions, Oliveira should have been ready for a wrestler like Gamrot. Finally, on September 24th, the UFC announced their fight. But the real question was not technical, but rather Oliveira's mentality. We know that 3 months ago, Oliveira suffered a devastating and arguably embarrassing defeat to Ilia Topuria in a UFC lightweight title fight. At that time, Oliveira's decision to engage with the most dangerous boxer in the UFC was amateurish and reckless. Oliveira could have employed a different strategy, but instead chose to engage in a striking battle. A first-round knockout loss is indeed tragic, but coming back from such a loss in such a short time is fraught with risks. Many fighters have suffered tragic fates after being knocked out and opting for a quick comeback, one of them being Volkanovski. Regardless, Oliveira has already made up his mind to fight Gamrot. After all, Oliveira is an experienced UFC fighter with strengths in both striking and grappling. His striking could be the difference in this fight. Meanwhile, his opponent, Mateusz Gamrot, has his own mission: to return to the top lightweight rankings after a long absence. Gamrot's controversial defeat to Tony and Hooker at UFC 3 on August 5-18, 2024, motivated him to make a comeback, but the UFC only offered him an opponent on May 31st, 2025. At that time, Gamrot accidentally filled the main event void because Messi Barbarian, who was scheduled to appear on the main event, had to withdraw due to health reasons. Mateusz Gamrot versus Ludovic Klan was the main event, and this fight could be considered a very lopsided one. Plain, a striker, was left helpless by Gamrot's dominance on the ground for 3 rounds. Gamrot displayed his elite wrestling skills, completely unstoppable by his opponent. Ludovic had to scramble to escape from Gamrot's wrestling pressure, and ultimately, Ludovic had to admit that his ground game was simply too strong for Gamrot's. This wrestling prowess from Gamrot will be his weapon to steal victory in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Will Charles Oliveira be able to quell Gamrot's wrestling prowess? Let's move on to the fight predictions. If we look back at the fight between Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan, we can get a glimpse of what will happen on October 11th. Tsarukyan and Gamrot, who have fought before, have similar wrestling styles, but Gamrot possesses more power and is better able to combine his wrestling with striking. Gamrot will try to take Oliveira down and dominate for 5 rounds. Oliveira doesn't have a strong takedown defense, but her grappling defense or guard can be very dangerous. If she's caught off guard, Gamrot could easily lock up a guillotine or triangle choke. However, if Gamrot can get past Oliveira's defense, dominating for 5 rounds isn't difficult. Oliveira will likely engage Gamrot in a lot of striking. Of course, Gamrot doesn't want to face Oliveira's very dangerous punching power. Gamrot will fight intelligently, as he did when he defeated Ludovic, always taking opportunities to land takedowns when he sees an opening. Gamrot's wrestling and cardio skills will be the deciding factor in this fight. If these 2 fighters dare to go all out in a ground fight, then we will witness once again a high-level MMA grappling fight, and will most likely be the best in 2025. That concludes our discussion for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the latest news and updates on the world of MMA fighting. See you next time.